There you go, right?
Don't want to go off.
Awesome, you're going chicken straight in.
Good luck. You're welcome.
Good evening, everyone. That's great. I'm Dave Jordan from WITN TV. It's so great to see everyone here again this year. WITN is a spirit sponsor for tonight's event. We would like to take a moment right now to remind you to mute your cell phones for late evening. Of course, I'm pleased to be here and to be your master of ceremonies for the event tonight, ECVC's 58th Anniversary Banquet. And as always, the evening promises to be inspiring tonight. ECVC holds its banquet in October to celebrate National Disabilities Employment Awareness Month, and this year's theme is Advancing Access and Equity. We're going to get the evening moving along right now, and it's my honor to introduce the president of ECVC, Mr. Jason Thomas.
Thank you, Dave, and thanks for your continued support as our long-running MC, and to WITN, our spirit sponsor and advertising partner. And thank you all for joining us as we celebrate ECVC's 58th anniversary and the contributions that people with disabilities make at ECVC and throughout the workforce. October is National Disability Employment Awareness Month, but I challenge you to remain aware year-round that in the workplace, disabilities are not disqualifiers. We don't hire employees with disabilities at ECVC because we're a successful company. We are a successful company because we hire employees with disabilities. And our success has never been more evident than it is this year. In the last year, ECVC placed 50 people at other companies in Pitt and Beaufort counties. These are people with disabilities who now work for companies like FedEx, Jenny K Jewelry, Seahorse Restaurant, AccuLink, BTW Global, and many others. One of those employees, Chip Moorhead, who we placed at Avalanche Motorsports, is with us this evening, and he was recently featured on WITN's newscast. ECVC this past year was also awarded its 4th consecutive Hire Vets Medallion Award from the U.S. Department of Labor for being a leader in putting veterans to work. We just added a new contract with the Department of Defense to assemble a battery kit that is used in the entire fleet of Bradley fighting vehicles around the world. We shipped over 50 million batteries last year, with significant value added to them by our team right here in Greenville. All of them were either custom packaged or custom labeled to meet strict government standards, or they were part of a commercial battery pack that we provide, that we assemble for a medical device company. We also manufactured and shipped over 400,000 battery terminal adapters last year and over 200,000 picture frames. We added new contracts for janitorial service and for commercial warehousing and distribution. In the ECVC custom frame shop, Penny created 50 custom-matted frames that were used for the Order of the Longleaf Pine Awards. She also framed the AbilityOne Congressional Champion Awards, which were presented to members of Congress last month. And she's done work for many of you and for your companies. And next month, I'll have the opportunity to tell ECVC's story and that of the overall AbilityOne program to members of the military, federal government leaders, and industry peers in Washington, D.C. Each of these items creates or sustains jobs. We recently refined our vision statement, what we aspire to be at ECVC. We aim to be the first choice for employment solutions for persons with disabilities, to be a trusted partner in regional economic and workforce development efforts, and to be known as a premier supplier of products and services locally, nationally, and globally. We have carefully crafted one-year and multi-year strategies to help us achieve to achieve this vision and to continue achieving it. And there's one person who's played a critical role in helping prepare us to achieve this vision. That's our CEO, Lisa Ward-Ross. In 37 years at ECVC, Lisa has driven a tremendous amount of growth. She's a subject matter on a host of topics. She's an excellent leader who has sought to surround herself with other leaders who possess strengths in the few areas that she doesn't. And she empowers them to do their jobs. Lisa has a rare combination of expertise relating to both the people and the business aspects of ECVC. And she can more than hold her own on topics from manufacturing to marketing. This is Lisa's last banquet as an ECVC employee. A few months ago, she announced that she'll be retiring on June 30th, 2024. She made me promise not to bring her up on stage tonight, so I won't do that. But I will ask Lisa to stand for a well-deserved round of applause. I thank Lisa for hiring me 7 years ago, this week, in fact, 7 years ago. And I'm in good company tonight. Not only do we have Lisa, but her two predecessors, Bob Jones, Dan LaRue, are both with us tonight. So I'm honored to be among four presidents of ECVC, and I've got big shoes to fill. So thank you for the opportunity. There's one person who's not physically here with us tonight, but I'm sure he's watching. Fred Maddox passed away in August at the age of 92. Fred was here with us 1 year ago tonight. He was here telling jokes and laughing, just like he always did, just like many of us remember. Fred served on ECVC's board for 20 years, including many years as chairman and vice chairman. Anyone who knew Fred knows that his was a life well lived. We appreciate Fred's service and dedication to ECVC, and I'm very pleased that his daughter Mary could be with us tonight. There are some others that I'd like to recognize and thank. We have several elected and appointed officials here with us this evening. No need to stand, but I'd like to read some names off. From Pitt County, Commissioners Melvin McLawhorn, Beth Ward, Tom Colson, Mary Perkins Williams, Ann Floyd Huggins, and Pitt County Manager Janice Gallagher. From the City of Greenville, City Council Member Les Robinson. From the North Carolina State House, North Carolina House Rep from District 8, Glorstein Brown. And from Senator Tom Tillis' office, my good friend Trey Lewis. Thank you all for being here. As most of you know, ECVC generates all of its revenues through delivery of products and services. We don't run the business on donations, and this banquet is not a fundraiser. Sponsorships and ticket sales help cover the cost of this event, and I thank everyone who purchased a seat or a table here tonight, as well as all the sponsors who are displayed on the screens. We certainly appreciate all the sponsors who made this night possible. I'd like to make special recognition of a few of them in addition to WITN. We have our diamond sponsor again this year, Energizer. We have two platinum sponsors, Southern Bank and Duracell. Gold sponsor, Town Insurance, thanks to our board chairman, Jim Clement. We have three silver sponsors, Inaco East, Grady White Boats, and Package Craft. Service Roofing and Sheet Metal, as well as Heister Yale, or Bronze Plus sponsors. And bronze sponsors include Curtis Media Group, Panasonic Energy, Practicon, Saft Battery Company, Sound Partners, Susie Abbott Photography, and the Trade Family Foundation. Thanks to each of these and to all the rest of our sponsors who make this night possible. Thanks also to Ellen Jackson, to my right, and to everyone who helped Ellen put the banquet together this year. This is a monumental task, and they do a great job. There's a lot of work that goes into it from months leading up to today and even into the last hours of today. So please give Ellen and her team a round of applause as well. Thanks also to Rock Springs and the great staff here. They certainly put on a great event. If you are a member of ECVC's board or the ECVC Foundation board, would you please stand? Please give these folks a round of applause. Thank you to all of our board members for your time and your counsel. Thanks to our talented speaker tonight, J.R. Martinez. I heard J.R. speak at the Source America conference in Dallas last year, and I was very excited when he accepted our invitation. J.R. spent some time at ECVC today with some of our veterans. J.R.'s a veteran. Dave will tell you more about J.R.'s background, but he spent some good quality time with a number of our employees who are veterans, as well as a number of our other employees. Toured our production facility, and we had a great time showing JR around. Now I'd like to ask Reverend Rhonda Grant Jordan to come forward and give tonight's invocation. Reverend Jordan.
Good evening. I'd ask that you bow with me in prayer, please. Gracious Spirit of life, promise, hope, and unity, we are so thankful for your presence as we gather this evening. We ask that you be in our hearts and minds as people grateful for our blessings and hopeful for our future. Loving Creator, we thank you for the blessings of our individual, collective, yet varied, God-given gifts and abilities. We desire to use our gifts and abilities so that we may be loving and able stewards of this world. Giver of grace and mercy, we accept your calling to bridge the divides that polarize and separate us from each other. We fully acknowledge our differences, yet we realize our humanity and interconnectedness. Now, supplier of all good and perfect gifts, we ask that you bless this food we are about to share. Bless those who prepared it, bless those who are serving it, and bless those who have worked so hard to make this evening the special occasion that it is. For all of this, we give you thanks. In your name we pray. Amen.
Good evening once again, everyone. We're going to continue on with our program now tonight. And while you're finishing your desserts, we do want to remind you about the special $500 Visa gift card. It was donated by Panasonic. We'll be drawing that at the end of the evening, so please hold on to your tickets tonight. All right, now on to another highlight for this evening. Please direct your attention to the screens for a video about our 2023 Employee Success Story Award winner.
Ben came into vocational rehabilitation after he graduated in college, and he was looking for a job. My first impression is that he is really eager to work, and I was thinking that he is really passionate about working, and if you put him into the job, I know that he will do great. After the intake and several discussions, he needed to have a job coach, and we referred him to ECVC for work adjustment, supportive employment.
When Ben came to ECVC, he was a little quiet and reserved, but once we got to know each other and, I'm trying to figure out what things he likes to do, his job goals, he opened up a little bit with me, and we just began to do a lot of job searching.
It did take a while, but they were really looking for a job that best fit my qualifications. They helped me improve my resume, got me talking with a resume specialist to help me thoroughly improve it.
We reached out to BTW Global, and actually it was the best decision that we could have made and had been to apply for this position.
Once he got here, he was quiet, especially the first couple weeks, just kind of stayed to himself, worked extremely hard. And we noticed that, but as the weeks went on, his personality and his humor, came out, and he really fit into the culture that we had here.
My interests kind of aligned with what they were doing.
There's books, which he's an avid reader, and games that he was really interested in, so it really became a perfect fit for him.
And he's interested in their products, so he enjoys every day at work.
His typical routine is that he will coil, sticker, help ship, and then make sure that all the shipments that are going out are correct based off the number of quantities, the correct titles, and make sure that we don't have any errors when we are shipping.
Every time I come to see Ben, there's nothing but great things that have been they're saying about Ben. How he's a great worker. He'll do anything that you ask of him to do. No complaints. He never complains. He's just an awesome person.
Ben's a great worker. He comes in every day, he smiles. Love to have him. Always makes me laugh. He's great to work with. Works really hard.
He's very hardworking. I'm a coiler, but Ben's usually an FBA. He's actually coiling today with us, so it's great to have him over on our side today. But usually he's an FBA. He works very fast, very hard. They always have perfect labels going out, and so I really enjoy working with him. He's a great coworker.
I love working with Ben. I can say first and foremost he's a good employee, right? Whatever we get him to do, he's all on it. Favorite thing for me for Ben is just his sense of humor, right? He always gets us cracking up, laughing, gets everybody in a good mood. It's always good to work with him.
He does anything I ask him to every morning. He comes in, is ready to work. If I'm not having something ready, he's getting on me like, what we doing? So yeah, he's a good team player, very hard worker.
He will take whatever he can do in order to complete his task. And that's why he has been able to complete and become a successful employee.
Congratulations, Ben, on becoming Employee of the Year. You deserve it. You work really hard. Keep up the good work.
Congratulations on your award. We're so proud of you. You definitely deserve it with all the hard work and effort that you put here at BTW Global, and we're so proud of everything that you do.
Congratulations, Ben, on being an Employee of the Year. You're a hard worker, and I'm glad to work with you. Just keep up the good work.
Congratulations, Ben, for winning the award. I'm so proud of you, and I can't wait to see you make more great memories and accomplish greater things.
Congrats, Ben, for winning the award. We're all with you here, and good luck in the future.
We would like to congratulate you for being the ECVC Success Story Employee of the Year.
Congratulations, Ben. We're really proud of you that you've found a job that fits for you, and that you're a hard worker and have earned this award.
Congratulations, Ben. We love you, and we're so proud of what you've accomplished.
Congratulations, Ben. We are so proud of you.
Congratulations, Ben. You know how much I love you, and I'm so proud of you.
I am not surprised by this because you are an awesome person. So you're so very deserving of this, and I'm super proud. Congratulations, Ben.
I'd like to give a thanks to ECVC for introducing me to BTW, and thank you for my continued employment. I hope to be here for quite a while.
Ladies and gentlemen, the 2023 ECVC Employee Success Story of the Year, Ben Grizzard.
Hello, I'm Jim Clement. I'm the chairman of the board of directors for ECVC. And again, it's my distinct honor this year, as I have for the last 3 years, to present the award to the Employee of the Year. What can I say? We've all seen the video, and what a fantastic individual you are. You are a role model for many people and very deserving of this award. Your family, co-workers, friends, everyone at ECVC, and everyone here tonight are very proud of you. You do such a wonderful job. We can see that you take pride in your work and in yourself. For your accomplishments and perseverance in overcoming challenges. Ben, I'm proud to present to you the 2023 Employee Success Story of the Year.
Ben, congratulations. We're all proud of you. Very awesome. Nice job. All right, we're going to continue on with our program now tonight. Our special guest this evening is J.R. Martinez. He is an Army veteran, a burn survivor, an actor, motivational speaker, New York Times best-selling author, and Dancing with the Stars Season 13 winner. He is many things, but perhaps most significantly, he is an inspiration. J.R. travels the world spreading his message of resilience and optimism, and he does it all with a smile. Please direct your attention out to the screens for a video.
Alone in my car, I'm in a parking lot. What I've learned after I was injured is that I can be of service in a different way. You know, I turn in my uniform, I turn in my weapon, but I can serve in a completely different capacity. And as I tell people, my new uniform are my scars. My new weapon are my words, my experiences. And I know that when I do all these things that I do, that I've had the amazing opportunity to do, I'm not just doing it for myself. I represent a lot of people, not just burn survivors, not just military personnel, just people that go through adversity. And just trying to be one of the examples on this earth and a daily reminder to every single person that's out there that, you know what, you can. You can do this. You have to do some soul searching, but I guarantee you, you have what it takes to overcome. I'm a champion. Nobody said it'd be an easy ride. Obstacles in my way, scars never change. Why do I crumble quickly, stumble swiftly? Cursing the world, I burn the songs I wrote 1,000,000,000 times in my head. I'm feeling low, got nowhere to go, but back up again. You gotta get bruised before you get mad. You gotta fall down before you fight back. Was feeling so weak, but baby I'm strong. Little did I know I'm a champion. I'm a champion.
Good evening, everybody. Good evening, good evening, good evening. Go Cowboys. No, I did that for one person in the audience. That wasn't for everybody. But I had, he knows who I'm talking about. So we played that video. The reason we played that video before I take the stage, because I just want to make it very clear before I get into this, I am not SEAL. It's a real thing. It happens, people. I'm just saying, like, I don't know where, but it happens. You know, honestly, I just want to take a moment just sort of to extend the applause that this individual received. And if we could get this thing going for like another 15 to 20 seconds, that would be awesome. So, Ben, can you stand up one more time, my man, and just receive all this love? Yes, hey, wave to the back of the room too, Ben. Wave over there. I love it. I love it. That is awesome. So when they started playing that video, I intentionally, because I have the honor of sitting right next to him, so I intentionally turned and looked at his face the entire time that video was playing, with all the different people talking about him and the type of person that he is. What I love, first and foremost, is they talked about his sense of humor. So he didn't hear me, but when he came up to the stage, I said, "Tell a joke." But you know, he didn't get a chance to do that. But what I loved is that you could see the smile on his face the whole time that video was playing. You could just see the happiness and the joy on his face. And then, of course, he stands up, takes the stage. He stands up here, and he's just kind of taking all that in. He's just looking at every single one of you that so generously made time to come out this evening and support this cause and this organization. And, and he just takes all that in. Even right now, he stands up, he's turning around, and it's like, that's what it's about. That's what it's about right there. And I look at him, and I can't help but think of, a lot of times when people see that video of my life and that montage of things that I've had the opportunity to do, and a lot of people still ask themselves the question, like, how did he go from essentially being injured and what happened to him to ultimately get into this point in his life where he is what whatever I am, right? Like I've crossed into a lot of different spaces. And what it really comes down to is the fact that I was given an opportunity. I was given an opportunity numerous times over the course of the last 20 years. I was 19 years old when my life forever changed. I was 19 years old when I came out of my medical-induced coma, and I lost both of my identities. Meaning the identity that I had, every time I looked in the mirror, every time I looked at myself for 19 years of my life, I knew who that individual was. And then suddenly one day I woke up and I looked in the mirror and I had no idea who that individual was. Also, the identity that I was starting to create for myself of being somebody that was in the military. I was wearing the uniform. I was serving, and that's what I loved and I enjoyed was this concept of service. This concept of being a part of something bigger than myself. This concept of being on a mission to serve other people, to better other people's lives. That was something that I just deeply fell in love with, and I wanted to do this for 20 years of my life. And Jason, we were talking earlier, and he asked me the question, like, had you never been injured, what do you think? Where do you think your life goes? Because he saw me speak last year, and he said, you were just so comfortable on stage. He's like, I have to believe that there was some of that was just naturally who you are as an individual. You're just comfortable being on stage and communicating and talking. I was like, yeah, more than likely, I'd probably still be doing it in the military. I'd just be talking and annoying a bunch of people in the military. That's all I would be doing. I'd probably be still doing a lot of push-ups or talking so much while I was in the military. But essentially, like, I've always been this individual. I've always had the capabilities inside of me. I told him that when I was a senior in high school, one of my teachers pulled me aside and he said, when you speak, people listen. And I just interpreted that as he wanted me to stop talking so much in class. And what he was trying to identify was there's something in me. There's something inside of me, right? And I was around 18 years old when this teacher told me that. But, in order to really understand my life, you have to go back a little bit. And so what I really want to just sort of paint the picture for people is that a few years ago, I had an opportunity to be in Dallas, and I was going to be speaking in Dallas at this event. And they had a lineup of speakers, and they had this local chef in Dallas that was also going to speak. And this local chef, he gets up on stage, and he does a lot of work in the community with kids, and they asked him, how did you get involved in this line of work? And he said, well, I was at an event one time, and I heard this individual talking about kids that don't have a lot of resources, that are underprivileged, and he just kind of referenced, whether that was intention or not, but he referenced these kids as being throwaway kids. And the chef was like, well, what do you mean throwaway kids? What does that mean? And he said, well, these are kids that, again, don't have a lot of resources, don't have a lot of guidance, so you just kind of just move them along. Now, I'm sitting there listening to this chef talk about that experience. I'm sitting in front row because I'm getting ready to take the stage, and all I can feel is like, ooh, that just hit me. That hit me a certain way. And the reason that hit me a certain way is because I was probably considered at one point in time in my life a throwaway kid. My mother's from Central America, El Salvador. I'm first generation American. I was born in Louisiana. I witnessed my mother go through a lot of trauma and have some very difficult experiences. She was in abusive relationships, and I witnessed all of this. And if it wasn't happening in my home, it was happening in my complex of wherever we lived. It was happening in my community. That's what I was susceptible to. And a lot of those things started to affect me as a young man, to the point where I found myself just being angry and upset, and I would get into trouble a lot at school, and I would be suspended from school for 3, 5, 7 days at a time. And then, of course, being removed from school for that long, when you come back to school and they're going through the curriculum, you're way behind. So what did I do? The way that my defense mechanism was to just pretend that none of that mattered. That was silly, and I just wanted to be the cut up in the back of the room. And that's who I was. I was the cut up. I can tell you that no one from third grade, fourth grade, because third grade is when the problems really started to surface. Third grade, fourth grade, fifth grade, sixth grade, all the way up into my senior year of high school, no one ever stopped and pulled me aside and said, what's going on? Why? What's happening? Not one person. It wasn't until my senior year of high school, When I moved, I actually grew up in Arkansas, and I moved to a town in Georgia, and I remember within the first couple of weeks of being in this new school, the counselor calls me into his office, well, one of them. He calls me into his office, and that's literally what he said. He sat me down, and he said, I'm looking at your transcript. He's like, what's going on? Why do I see these grades? He's telling me you're not going to graduate from high school on time. He's asking me, do you want to graduate on time? I'm like, yes, I do. He's like, well, then what's going on? And it was almost, like this one of those like shock component to where like somebody finally asked me what was going on, and I didn't know how to explain it. So I sort of locked up, and then finally I just started expressing to him all these different things outside of the school environment that were affecting me. And he said, okay, all right, I get all that. He's like, well, let me ask you a question. Do you want to graduate on time? I said, I do. He says, okay, are you committed to this? I said, I am. He said, okay, we're going to put a plan together. We're going to do this together. That's what he said to me. And so literally, like, I started going to night school and all this other stuff in order for me to be able to graduate on time. I just think about, in 2020, if you can remember, because that seems like forever ago, can we share this side of the stage? Don't move away from me. We'll stand close to each other. Might even lean on you. God knows what'll happen. I get tired after a while. I'll just lean on you. You lean on me too if you need, all right? All right, cool, thank you. You're probably regretting being up here right now. But, I just remember in 2020, and most of you will remember that during that time when there was a lot of stuff going on in our country and in the world, but the one thing that I kept seeing throughout social media and different platforms is everyone talking about self-care and everyone talking about, actually connecting with people and listening to people and the work and the effort that it took to listen, getting to learn about an individual. Everyone was talking about balance and self-care and all these mental health, all these great popular keywords that are good for Google. But then what happened? The minute that our world started opening up again and we were allowed to get back into it and start moving and grooving, guess what? All those words were gone. It didn't matter anymore. They're irrelevant. Just who cares? This concept of sitting down and listening and getting to know an individual. We used to operate on autopilot where you would see somebody and you would be like, how are you doing? And this person was conditioned just to say, I'm good, thank you. How about you? Good, thank you. All right, I did my service for the day. I did my good deed for the day. I checked in, I made sure somebody was okay, and they asked me the same question, so we're good. We got to break that cycle. And we have to have some sort of consistency in how we show up as human beings for one another. It took me 18 years to finally have somebody ask me what's going on. When I realized all I've ever wanted in my entire life is to be heard, is to be seen. That's all I ever want. That's all I strive for, is to have that. So listen, after high school, I joined the military. It was I know people want to know, for me, there was multiple layers to this. One, it was because of what happened in 9/11. I graduated high school after 9/11, and so that contributed to my decision to want to join the military. But at the same time, I felt there was an opportunity for me to travel, for me to see the world, for me to just, get to have a different experience than this small town. And my initial thought process when I joined the military, when I raised my right hand, I thought, I'm only going to do 3 years, and then I'm going to get out and move on with my life. I'll be 22-ish years old, and I'm still young enough. I've given, but I can go off and do my own thing. And then something happened as I got into it, where I started to fall in love, and I was introduced to this concept of service, and introduced to this concept of teamwork, and introduced to this concept of everybody having a role on a team and everyone buying into that role and that responsibility. And suddenly I thought to myself, well, maybe I'm not going to limit myself to only 3 years. Maybe I'm going to do this for 6 years. Maybe I'm going to do this for 15 years. Maybe I'm going to do this for 20 years. But that was almost taken away from me because of a leader in my unit. I remember one day this guy was my direct leadership, and he would give a lot of briefings while we were deployed overseas in combat, and he would talk about his briefings. And of course, I didn't have the luxury of having extensive training before I deployed, so I would raise my hand a lot and ask a lot of questions. And over time, the more questions that I asked, I started to get this annoyance that I was asking all of these questions. As a 19-year-old sitting in the back of the room, I'm very impressionable, right? And so I just got to this point where I was like, I'm not going to ask any more questions then. If I'm an inconvenience, if I'm annoying you, if I'm disrupting your flow, then I'm not going to ask any more questions. And I started then thinking to myself, well, you know what? I don't think I want to do this anymore. I can't wait for my deployment to end. I can't wait for 3 years to end. And I'm going to get out. I'm going to move on with my life. I'm going to do something else. One person was taking this thing that I started to love. He was taking it away from me. I started to wake up every day. I started to show up every day and just show up and just check a box and do what I was asked to do. There was no joy and excitement and passion behind it. It was literally like, this is my responsibility. This is my commitment. I just have to fulfill it every day. And that's what I was doing, just going through the motions. But then I was introduced to this other leadership, and this other leader started talking about the role that every person played, how critical it was. And he talked about team, and he expanded on service, and he expanded on all these different topics. And suddenly that man reintroduced this love and excitement and joy of wanting to stay in the military for a long time. So, of course, we all know that, famous saying where they said, you plan and God laughs. That's it. Thank you. Like, nobody's from the South. This is the South, right? Like, I know I grew up in the South. I know the South. I'm going to test and see. This is a good way to test and see if I'm in the South. So when someone says, bless your heart, what do they mean? Yeah, we sneaky in the South. We sneaky. Yeah, like, how many times, bless your heart. Like, you don't mean that. That's a dig. But you still want to sort of throw that out there because, I still want to be on the list so I can get into heaven somehow. But I'm still going to throw my little dig in there with the bless your heart. We Southerners. So my wife is from New York. My wife is from Sunnyside, Queens. And so we moved to Austin 5 years ago. That's where we live right now in Austin, Texas. And I said to her, I was like, listen, babe, it's different down here. It's different, people will talk to you and, they'll help you and all this other stuff. And she's like, oh, that's just a stereotype. It's not true. And I'm like, oh, it's true. Trust me. So sure enough, we came down to Austin, Texas. And, I was like, listen, when you're in the neighborhood, when you're in the car, when you're walking or whatever, and you pass people, you got to throw up. You just got to say hi. That's it. You just do this, a little wave. That's it. It's courtesy. You have to do that. And they'll wave back. No, they won't. Yes, they will. So sure enough, one day we're driving and I do it. And the person walking does it. I was like, see? She's like, oh, it happens. And I'm like, yes, that's what we do down here in the South. So then one day I'm at home and my wife is out and she comes home and she says, I'm like, what'd you get into? And she's like, oh, I went to this, I went to this store. And I went to this store. And she's like, and I was talking to this lady at the register. And this lady, we were talking it up. And she says, where are you from? And she said, I'm from New York City. And that lady said, bless your heart. My wife was like, she's so nice. She said, bless your heart. I was like, Listen, if you're going to survive here, you got to understand, what she really meant by that was, I'm telling you, we Southerners, I love us, but man. Man. 19 years old, I'm just navigating life the best that I can, and all I want to do is be a part of something. All I want to do is be seen, is be heard. That's all I'm striving for. And so here I am planning this long career in the military, and then all of a sudden on the 5th of April of 2003, I'm driving a Humvee through a city called Karbala when the front left tire of the Humvee that I was driving ran over a roadside bomb. Immediately, I was trapped inside of the Humvee. It was engulfed in flames. There were 3 other guys in the Humvee with me. They all got thrown out of the vehicle. I was, like I said, trapped inside, and I was completely conscious for 5 minutes that I was trapped inside of this burning Humvee. And there were several occasions over the course of this 5 minutes where I would feel like I was gasping for air, and I was screaming and yelling at the top of my lungs for someone to please come and pull me out of the Humvee. And, there would be moments where all of a sudden my eyes would get very heavy and I was getting weak and my eyes would be on the verge of closing, and then I would allow them to close. And there's a couple of meanings to this, significance that I take away from this. As I take away one is that in the midst of all this chaos, in the midst of all this noise, around me because, of course, we had ammo inside of the Humvee and it was heating up and it was shooting off, and then there's a fire, and then the rest of the guys in the unit are trying to set up a perimeter and trying to locate everybody because they can find this person, this person that's out of the Humvee. They're looking for me. And in the midst of all that chaos, I just closed my eyes, and the only thing I can hear was my breathing. That's the only thing I can hear was my breathing. And I think that is an important lesson for all of us. That when life tends to get really noisy and things feel like they're spiraling, they're out of control, it's important to just stop, to pause, and just close your eyes and just connect with your own breath. And in that space, you find gratitude. In that space, find those things that give you peace, love, and joy, and hold on to those things, and then open your eyes and just continue to breathe and just carry those things with you. Because everything in life is a phase. Everything in life is a phase. I have a tattoo on my wrist. So obviously you can see my face and my head is burned. What you can't see is maybe my hands. My hands are burned, my arms are burned, part of my back, my legs. Well, the funny story about this tattoo on my wrist is that when I joined the military, I could not figure out military time to save my life. Gail, where are you at? Gail, where's Gail? Gail, you know who I'm talking about, Gail. Did she leave already? Or is she on Canadian time? Where are you, Gail? Oh, there you are. I said Canada, and now you stand up. You're like, well, so Gail is from Canada. She's from Montreal, and we were joking about how, she's on, the way that they do their whole system and everything. But, this was a next level, Gail, where I could not figure out military time. So my sergeants knew that, and they turned it into a fun game for them, where they said, every time we ask you what time it is, Martinez, if you don't answer it correctly, you have to do push-ups. So, of course, they were like, what time is it, Martinez, in the middle of the day? And I'm like, I don't know, 3 o'clock? And they were like, nope, down and push. And so I was doing push-ups. And that became a pattern to the point where it got so bad when my sergeant said, every time we look at you now, just get down and do push-ups. That was the goal. That was the game. So I remember one day walking across post, and I was going to the PX, and, literally I hear, Martinez. And I turn and I look across the parking lot. It's my sergeant. I'm like, oh, man. And I get down and I do push-ups. So that day, with the little bit of money that I had, I went inside of that store and I bought an inexpensive watch. And I set that watch at 24-hour time. So the next time my sergeant saw me, I said, hold on, Sergeant, I know what time it is. He says, what time is it? And I told him the time. He said, all right, no more push-ups. So I wore that inexpensive watch to my deployment. I was wearing that watch the day that I was injured. But if you look at my wrist closely, you can see, my hand is burned, my arm is burned, my wrist all the way around is, I see the camera guy trying to zoom in. My wrist is not burned. That inexpensive watch protected that part of my skin. So I decided, as a little excuse, to get a tattoo, I decided, you know what? I'm going to get a tattoo of that watch. The zigzags on the face of the watch are going to represent that from the explosion, right? The face of the watch is broken. It's the day that I was injured, the time that I was injured, right after 2:30, and then the date in Roman numerals that I was injured in the band. So 4, 5, 1000, 2000, 1, 2, 3, April 5th, 2003. But listen, that's its own little story. But what I like to reference is when you look at a clock, right? And most of us don't even look at a clock this way anymore. But if you do, 12 is at the top, 6 is at the bottom. 12 symbolizes what? Everything in life is good. Everything's happening the way it's supposed to. I'm in a great place in my life. Nothing is wrong in my life. 6, we know what that represents, right? Things are tough right now. I'm struggling. I feel isolated, whatever it may be. But just like a clock, the hands just keep moving and moving and moving. Only if there's what in the watch? Batteries. If not, that watch will stop and it'll stay and wherever part it stopped at on that watch. So you always have to find ways to find some batteries. You got to find some passion. You got to find some motivation. You got to find some purpose. You got to find a why. That's your batteries to put back into this thing we call life. And eventually you find yourself getting out of that 6, working your way to 9. Now you're at 12 again, and you enjoy that period at 12. But what happens eventually is you start to understand, well, I know I'm enjoying 12 right now, but I know eventually what's going to come is 6. But you start to understand that cycle of life and you start to remember how far you've come. And then all of a sudden you realize, I'm not afraid of 6 anymore. 6 can present itself with some adversity, some challenges, some change, whatever term you want to utilize. I got all the batteries I need. I can get through this. So in the midst of chaos in our lives, in the midst of all this noise and things that we feel like we can't control, I just invite you and I encourage you to just close your eyes and connect with your breath. Find some gratitude, find your purpose, find your why, and open your eyes and just go live. And trust that that's all you need in that moment to just carry you through. Trust me. So there's that. But there's also like this element of where I found myself in the midst of all this noise and I would close my eyes and I was giving up. Because that's the alternative. I'm giving up. This pain is too great. I'm screaming and yelling at the top of my lungs, and it feels like I've been in this Humvee forever. No one's going to come and pull me out. I'm going to die. I start to come to terms with the fact that I'm going to die at the age of 19. I'm going to die in this way. I'm going to die in this place. Like I start to accept that. But again, I'm then reminded, in the midst of all this chaos, I'm reminded I have 19 years that has conditioned me and prepared me. Because resiliency is people look at me and say, oh, he's so resilient. You just developed that resiliency. No, I didn't just develop it all of a sudden. I've been conditioning that thing my entire life. For 19 years, all the challenges and adversity that I faced was conditioning, preparing me for this moment. And in this moment, when I said to myself, I'm giving up, that's it. I'm just going to keep my eyes closed and let myself just fade away. I would think to myself, no, I can't. I have to open my eyes and I have to continue to scream and yell at the top of my lungs. Someone's going to pull me out of this Humvee. And sure enough, 2 of my sergeants pulled me out of the Humvee and started the medevac process. I get put into a medical-induced coma. I end up in Germany. After 3 days in Germany, I get to the United States, and I go to the Burn Center for the Military, which is in San Antonio. You know what I never stopped to think about? I never stopped to think about it. And I was talking to Jason about this earlier when I had this opportunity to take a tour of the facility, which honestly, you know, when this opportunity presented itself, you know, and you read the description on paper and you're like, oh, this sounds really cool. And then I had the opportunity to jump on the phone with Ellen a week or so ago, a couple weeks ago, and get a little bit more details about this organization. And I'm like, oh, this sounds even better. But let me tell you something, to experience it, to be there in that space, to walk around that warehouse, to see the smiles on these workers, to have an opportunity to sit down and chit-chat with them. When I walked away, it was like, oh, man, this is one of those experiences where it's like, I think I was being brought in to do something for them, but the reality is they did so much for me. That's the way I left your facility this morning. And so I'm incredibly grateful for the invitation and the opportunity to have taken that tour and to have, had a few conversations with a few of the people that were there. But what I never stopped to think about, and it took me about 10 years to finally come to this place, what I never stopped to think about is, how did I get home from the battlefield? I never thought about that. I started to recover. I started to find my purpose again. I started to visit patients in the hospital, and I started to become an advocate for service members and their families, and really raising awareness and the general public about the challenges that we experience, and when we get out of the military and get back into what we refer to as the civilian world. And that made me happy. That brought me so much joy, and I was a maniac about it because I would have a surgery. I remember specifically a couple of instances where I had a 13-hour surgery on a Friday, and then literally that following Monday, I found myself on a plane going to travel to speak on behalf of the service members. And I had all these crazy procedures that they were doing. They were doing all these crazy procedures on me. Like, for example, I had this a procedure called a tissue expander. And they put it in my chest, and I had bad scarring on the left side of my face that went all the way down to my neck area, and it was just really bad, and it just wasn't healing up. And so the plastic surgeon presented the option to do a tissue expander because my chest isn't burned. He said, what I'll do is I'll put essentially it's essentially a breast implant. I'll put it underneath the skin in this part of your chest, and once a week, for 3 or 4 months, they inject it with saline, just salt water. So as you can imagine, 3 or 4 months in, I have one. I don't need to say it. I have one. And And it was so convenient. Yeah, how are you going to translate this? I want to see how this is going to go. What did you have? Tell me show us what you had. Yeah. Do I stand like that too? Did I stand like that? I had one. Just push that right hip up. I had one. It was so convenient to have this one breast because then I would just like sleep on it. I would just lay. I mean, cuddle buddy. Like it was so good to just have that one. Jason said, I want you to come on stage. I want you to have fun. I want you to tell these funny stories that I heard you tell. I want you to tell a story about an elevator. I'm sure I told this story right now about me having one breast, and he's like, okay, I regret everything and every bit of direction that I gave him. I also had these expanders put in my head because, growing up, I was a kid that, had curly hair, and that was my identity, man. Like, that was the thing. That was my thing. And everyone was like, oh, JR with his hair. Well, they didn't call me JR when I was growing up. They called me because JR stands for Jose Rene. And, that got to a point where I was like, I don't want to go by Jose. And I definitely don't want to go by Renee because then, that's a girl's name and it only has one E and it's too complicated to explain to people. So I figured I'm going to go by JR, not Junior, JR. Jose Rene, JR. And I thought, cool, this is the beginning of my identity, who I am as a person. Until I moved to Dallas. And then people would come up to me and they were like, what's your name? I'm like, JR. And they'd be like, who shot you? I'm like, what the hell are these people talking about? This was a fire. This wasn't a bullet that did this. People do not understand weapons. But, here I was traveling all over everywhere, just being an advocate and being a voice and just wanting, that's what brought me joy. That's what brought me happiness, was doing that work. But I never stopped to think about the people that helped me get home from the battlefield. I never stopped to think about them. I didn't even know that process. And it took 10 years after I was injured. One day I was visiting a military base and they took me into this huge room and there was all these screens and phones ringing and just noise and people on the phone and people yelling. And I was like, is this the stock exchange? What is going on? Is this Wall Street? And the person said, no, what this room is, every single person in this space, they're the ones that are part of the logistics teams to help you get from the battlefield back home. And I was like, what do you mean? And she started to elaborate. So, for example, depending on the type of injury, depending on what the patient needs, they will coordinate the right doctor. They will make sure all the right equipment is on, whether it's an aircraft, whether they need an ambulance. They'll make sure timing is right. They make sure everything. So the minute you get from boom, 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 everything's there to stabilize you, to get you home immediately. I benefited from this, and I never stopped to think about that. I was telling my buddy, because a guy I met in basic training, and we've been friends ever since then. He lives in Raleigh. So yesterday I fly in, and I get to break bread with him, and we're chatting it up and catching up and telling old stories. And he asked me, he says, what are you here for? What are you going to go do? And I start to explain to him, and the one thing that Ellen, I remember she shared with me on the phone about, the batteries and how ECVC provides batteries to the military. And he was like, what? And I was like, yeah. He's like, man, I always had, because he became like a sergeant in high rank, and he's like, I always had batteries accessible. And I was like, man, they came from this organization. You would never know it. People doing amazing things every single day. You would never know it. Listen, it's easy to focus on my physical recovery and how difficult that was, but let me tell you something. What was most difficult in my recovery process was the mental and the emotional aspect of it. And sometimes, unfortunately, those that have physical injuries, that part gets pushed aside because it's easy to focus on the physical. And no different than those that suffer in silence, unfortunately, with the mental and the emotional wounds, don't get a lot of attention as well because they don't have the physical. And so I believe it is important for me as someone who has the physicals to raise awareness and educate people and allow people to understand that there are people amongst you at your table right now that are struggling in silence because they believe that's the best way to manage it. That's the best way to deal with it. It's not. But the only way we can break that cycle is that we have to look at somebody and ask you, how you doing today? and you have to feel safe enough to say to me, yeah, today's a little tough. And then as a human being, I can look at you in the eyes and say, well, you want to talk about it? That's all it takes. What's your name? Abby's like, that was super awkward because he stared right into my soul. Have you ever done this exercise? I did this exercise a couple weeks ago. I was in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. There's a guy named Dan Nevins. He was in the military. He was injured. He lost both of his legs, and he has got into yoga. Yoga has been the thing that has helped him in his recovery. And I don't mean physically, emotionally and mentally. It's really been the contributing thing. He was the guy that was like, yoga, I'm not doing yoga. And now he's out there teaching yoga. Well, they brought him in to do this, to do yoga, but also do this ice breaking exercise. And what he's had us do, let's see, do we have time? Oh, we have time. Okay, yes, we're going to do this. Hold on, this is going to be fun. And some of you have been having a few drinks. This is going to be even better. This is going to be good for me. But I'm going to shorten it. I'm not going to make it as long as Dan had us do it. It's going to be 1 minute. So what I'd like for you to do right now is I don't care who it is that's next to you. Pick a person. Find somebody, turn to that person, a partner of two if you can, right? And just turn and just look at them real quick. But don't do anything yet. Just partner up with somebody real quick. All right, let's partner up with somebody. We can figure this thing out. So we got 2, 2, 2, boom. You guys are there. You guys can make it. Yeah, just you and one other person. You and one other person. See if you can. No, find a partner. Find a partner. It shouldn't take much. Rhonda, you got somebody? No. Rhonda, you're going to do this too. Shay. Rhonda, Shay's going to be your partner right there. Boom, there you go. Okay, all right. So Shay's going to get there. This is what we're going to do. We're only going to do it. We had to do this, just so you know, we had to do this for 3 minutes. We're only going to do this for 90 seconds. Gail, that is 1 minute and 30 seconds. I don't know how in Canada if they break this stuff down like that. I'm gonna cover. I got you, Gail. Don't worry about it, okay? What is the temperature? Is it in Fahrenheit? I got you, Gail. Don't worry about it. Okay, so for 90 seconds, I'm sorry, Gail, I'm just picking on you. For 90 seconds, 1 minute and 30 seconds, what you're going to do is you're going to just look into each other's eyes. You are not going to speak. You are not going to smile. You are not going to do anything. All you're going to do is just look at that person. All right? All right, here we go. On a count, here we go. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. Shh. 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 Okay, breathe. Okay, hold on. You'll have plenty of time to have a conversation about how awkward that exercise was. But let me tell you how cool that exercise is. Because how often, and that just gets to my point. You know, if I saw Ben on the street, would I stop and would I actually get to know Ben? Would I actually see Ben for who Ben is? The way people explained how Ben is and how he shows up on time and how he's a hard worker and how he has this sense of humor and he has this great personality. If I didn't stop and actually look at Ben, how many of us actually are not stopping to look at our friend, to look at our partner, to look at a colleague, to look at him in the eyes and just really connect with that individual on that level, on that human level? And you notice when we started the exercise, there's a lot of giggling, there's a lot of laughing because it's awkward. It's something that we rarely do. We're not conditioned to do that exercise. But I don't know about you, but what I noticed as I was standing up on stage, it started to get quieter. Because now you're getting outside of that comfort zone. Now you're in this space where you're like, oh, it's okay for me to actually be in silence and actually look at another human being straight in the eyes. So I challenge you to maybe do that exercise from time to time with somebody, to find a way to just see that person as a person. At 22 years old, I got out of the military and all I wanted to do was just work. Like, I think it was Lisa that said in that video about Ben, he showed up and he was eager to work. Ben had something he wanted to offer, he wanted to give. I was 22 years old, I had something to offer, I had something I wanted to give. And you know what I kept running into was people isolating me and boxing me in and telling me that I was only capable of doing it with other disabled veterans, because I am labeled as a disabled veteran. You're better off just staying in that space, in that box. You're good over there. You know why I kept hearing that? Because it was hard for people to look at me in the eyes and actually listen to me and actually understand who I was and what I could bring to the table. It was a lot easier for them to sort of have their eyes go off somewhere else and then just say, no, just stay over there. Because it's easier for me. If I have to look at you, I have to listen to you. That takes effort. That takes work. Well, let me tell you something. It takes effort and work to make people feel like they belong. It takes effort and work and commitment for people to actually feel like they're valued. And whatever organization, whether it's the organization of your family, whether it's an organization like ECVC or any company that you're a part of, it takes commitment. It takes effort. 22 years old, I'm constantly hearing this rejection. And you know what I did, unfortunately? I paired it with alcohol, and I was angry, and I was resentful, and I was just this unpleasant person to be around. I put myself in the worst scenarios that could have easily cost me my life. No one gave me the time of day to believe that I'm this person that had one day the ability to do this, what I'm doing right now, to be on this stage, to be your speaker for this amazing event. Instead, people didn't see that. They saw something else. Luckily, it took my best friend to get me out of that space and allow me to cry and allow me to know that it was okay to cry. He taught me what it meant to be vulnerable. He taught me what it meant to actually look at another man and say, man, thank you for showing up for me. I love you. And not feel awkward about looking at another man and saying, thank you for showing up for me. I love you. And if I'm able to show up for you, maybe you feel inclined to look at me in the eyes and say, I love you. And it doesn't have to be awkward. My life turned around at that point because I finally felt like I was seen. I finally felt like I was heard. I finally felt like I was valued. I've gone on to do some really incredible things, and I can tell you one thing, I am not. I may have a bio that says he's this, he's that, he's this, he's that. The one thing I'm happy I am is I'm a cycle breaker. The one thing that I'm happy that I'm not is I'm not a throwaway kid. Ben is not a throwaway kid. The individuals I got the opportunity to see and have conversation with at ECVC today, they're not throwaway people. They are people. They are human beings. And I can tell you, Jason, that you might have made a promise to Lisa that she doesn't have to, you weren't going to bring her up on stage. But I didn't make that promise, Lisa. How about that, Lisa? And I get to leave right after this event, so you can't do anything to me. Bless your heart. How about that? So, Lisa, why don't you come join me on stage real quick, if you don't mind. Come on. Come on. Let's give it up for Lisa. Now, don't be trying to get Jason to come up here and help you. I got you. Come on up here, love. Let's get you in this podium. There's a microphone up here. So let me keep my distance from you in case you have a reflex and you decide to hit me. But, I just want to say, honestly, having the opportunity today, and I know it was Jason that took me around, but I just want to say thank you to you for all of these years and the commitment that you've shown to this organization. I hope you know that, as you approach, you're in your last year, I hope you know that you and the people that have worked with you over all these years have impacted so many lives. And you've done the very thing that I feel like a few people have done for me, and that's given me an opportunity to be seen as a person and to allow me to show up as a person. And so I just want to, just in front of everybody, because I don't live in this area, I'm not from here, right? But I'd like to believe leaving tomorrow when I get on the plane first thing in the morning, I'd like to believe that there is a part of ECVC that is going to go with me in everything that I do, because I'm inspired by the work that you guys do. I'm inspired by the people that I had the opportunity to interact with today. And I just want to thank you for your commitment over all these years and the people that you've worked with. And I know that you've left the organization in great hands, maybe not Jason's, but other people's hands, But I just wanted in front of everybody and honestly give you the opportunity, because I know, and I'm sitting at the same table with her. So when Jason was up here and he's like, she made me promise, and then I heard her say, damn it, because he asked her to stand up. But I just would love the same love and respect and appreciation we gave to Ben. I think it's only appropriate for all of us, since this is going to be your last time in this role, to actually receive all the love from people that you either have known for a very long time, or if this is people's first time, to just stand up here for a second and just receive all that love. So thank you so much, Lisa.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, love. Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
So I'm going to essentially just close on a call to action to everybody. That we should all take a little bit more time in the midst of our chaotic, busy days to find ways to connect with ourselves, to find ways to find gratitude in the things that we have, to find ways to look at another person and pause for a second and just look at them in the eye and just connect with another human being and see them for who they are and what they are. To actually sit down and have conversation with somebody. And conversation, I challenge you to understand that conversation does not mean that I speak 50% of the time and then Abby speaks 50% of the time. If you're going to talk 90% of the time because that's the space that you're in, guess what? I'm going to listen 90% of the time. I may speak 10% of the time. It's not equal. It's what you need in that moment. And if I can show up for you as a human being and actually listen to you, if you can show up as a human being and actually listen to me, that's a successful and a productive and efficient conversation. I think all of us learned our lesson about how when we're not together, how it affects us. Let's not need a reminder. Let's not need one of those reminders. Let's actually implement the work starting tonight, starting tomorrow. Because I guarantee you there's somebody at your table, or there's somebody outside of this event space, there's somebody within your organization, there's somebody within your family that has all the skill sets and has the potential to do great things in this world. And all they need is for you to just see them and listen to them. That's all it takes, my friends. So to Jason and the team, thank you for seeing everybody that you have in your organization. Ben, we see you, my man. We hear you, my man. We applaud you, my man. And we can't wait to see all the incredible things you're going to continue to do. But I want, before I leave, you got to show me this sense of humor. I got to hear some of these jokes, man. I don't know. I know you got a lot of stuff inside of that body, so I want you to share some of that with me. So listen, ladies and gentlemen, I hope that I have been able to add to this evening. I hope I've been able to bring some pause to reflect and to think and to marinate on some things. Most importantly, I hope I've been able to allow you guys to have a good time and celebrate that we've all come together as human beings and we can laugh and we can have a good time. To my veterans in the space, I would just love to extend this as we're, I know probably about
4-ish weeks away from saying Happy Veterans Day. So I just want to take this moment right now for all the veterans to please stand up and allow us to actually give you some love. I see you right there, so you better stand. You better stand, sir. I know for sure. Thank you. And I encourage the rest of you, as November 11th starts to roll around and we start to say thank you for your service, what I encourage you to do, instead of just thanking somebody for their service, I encourage you to ask them about their service. It's easy to just say thank you for your service, period, shake a hand, give a hug, bless your heart, and get out of there. It's much harder and takes a little bit more effort to actually look at a person and say, tell me about your service, ma'am. Tell me about your service, sir. Because now you connect with a human being. It's all about being a human being. Thank you guys so much. It was a pleasure to be here with you this evening. Have a great evening. Thank you guys. Great job, buddy. Great job, buddy. Great job.
Yeah, man. I was going to pay for that.
He told me.
JR, thank you very much. It's been an inspiration having you here with us tonight. We really appreciate it. Even the exercise we had to do. It was a great evening. We do want to mention that we have some books, 15 of them that JR has autographed. They'll be for sale as you leave here. They're $20 each, so those are on sale here tonight. But again, let's hear it for JR tonight. All right, we're just about ready to wrap things up, but we want to mention we have the gift card to give away, $50 or $500 gift card. And if Mr. Scotty Scott from the president of Panasonic can join me on stage for that drawing. All right, I'll have you draw the ticket out of there. Sure. All right, and the lucky ticket is 567271. All right, if the winner could come up here. Do we have a winner? 567271. Right back here. Come on up. We'll just check that and verify, right? I'm sure that it's all good. We need to get a picture real quick. And you're from?
Brad, raising awareness of the real names.
Excellent. All right. Get you over here, too. Picture. All right. Congratulations. Well, as always, this has been a remarkable evening and celebration. Once again, congratulations, Ben. Thanks again to you, J.R. Martinez, for your inspirational message and performance up here tonight. Special thanks also to our sponsors and every one of you here tonight as well to celebrate with us. We do also want to make sure that you mark your calendars for next year's event, and that is October 3rd of 2024. In closing tonight, let's all continue to remember that October is National Disabilities Employment Awareness Month, and its theme, Advancing Access and Equity. Tell your friends, your family, and colleagues. The more people that know about ECVC and this annual banquet, the more impact that we can have on lives of persons with disabilities who can and want to work in our community. I've truly enjoyed being here with all of you tonight once again. Hope to see you all again next year. Have a pleasant evening.